What's up, guys? I'm Ryan Sheckler. I have been skateboarding for 28 years, and these are some of my worst slash, I guess, funniest injury stories. I've always been able to reconfigure a body part after an injury. That's weird, actually. I've broke my left elbow 5 times now. So the first time I ever broke it was in front of my house. I was 5 years old and we had this little makeshift launch ramp, and I had a Fisher-Price plastic table. My neighbors were skating and they set up the launch ramp over this table. My whole thing when I was a kid was like, I just wanted to be like the big kids, you know? So whatever the big kids were trying on a skateboard, like that's what I had to try. I tried one, got caught up, fell, and put my arm out and broke my elbow. That was the first time I ever had like a real injury. When they casted it, they didn't realize that my growth plate had broke. And so when it got out of the cast, which I still have to this day, my elbow should be down here, but now it's up here. So it's like completely messed up the way my arm turns. And that's also what led to it breaking 4 more times after that. So 3 years after that, so I was about 8 years old. Got the opportunity to go to Woodward skate camp, was super stoked. Flew out to PA and get picked up at the airport, and then it's kind of a long drive to Woodward, and I should have waited to skate until the next day and just kind of got acclimated to, you know, the whole place. But as a little kid, like, you know Woodward and you know it's like, it's on when you get there. And without warming up at all, I ollied off the 5-foot quarter pipe to flat ground. That's the first time I ever realized plane legs were like a thing. Slipped out, hit both my elbows on the ground, broke both my arms. That was brutal. Thank God I was at such a young age that like it didn't really bother me that my mom had to like wipe my butt. Yeah, bro. But that was like the worst part about that. It's just like had 2 full elbow arm casts, and like I was in that position for like a month. So my mom's a G for that one. I love you, Gretchen. Thank you. That one sucked. One of my gnarliest injuries, ETN, face melter. I tried to grind 15, flat 15, beveled edge hubba. Thinking about it now, it's like I set myself up for disaster, but I really thought I was gonna be able to do it. It gives me chills now even thinking about it. The one I really went for was bad. I slipped out at the worst possible position and had to try to jump to the bottom of the stairs. And then it just, we think it was about 15 or 16 feet high that I actually fell. I got my front foot out onto the flat ground, but the compression from that gave me stress fractures through my ankle and my foot. I ended up sitting on my right ankle on the bottom stair, and it flipped 180 degrees backwards and then flipped back into place. So I tore most of the ligaments and crushed the bone in my right ankle, and from hitting my tailbone on the ground so hard, I ended up fracturing my L1. That was the gnarliest injury I've ever been through. You know, both ankles in my back in one go. I remember screaming on the ground. The first person I saw was Danny Way, and I'm asking Danny, I'm like, are my ankles backwards? It felt like both my ankles were just like completely. He said no, and then I was finally able to like look at him. That was pretty brutal. One that looked bad for sure was the kickflip over the Costco gap. There was one where I kickflip, realize it's not working, and I kick out, and it's just this like free fall. I landed it 4th try, thank God. So there's really only 3 bails, but all 3 of those just basically felt like cannonballing onto concrete. Really gnarly concussion that I got that hospitalized me was around 10 years old at the ASR trade show. There was a 4-foot quarter pipe to another 4-foot quarter pipe, and then like a 2-foot deck. I really don't remember what happened, and I don't have the footage of it, but my dad watched it happen. I guess I melon grabbed and thought I was gonna make it into the other side, but I hung up on my back truck and I hit my head, and through my helmet, I got this insane hematoma. I woke up in the hospital. You know, they were sticking an IV in my arm and they wouldn't let me go to sleep. That was the first time I ever had a head injury, and so that's why I was like a big supporter of wearing a helmet until I was like 13 years old. If I wouldn't have been wearing a helmet on that one, I probably would have cracked my skull, and who knows what would actually happen. So, and that would have been the first of 3 concussions that were hospitalized. I can do without the head injuries. The rest of the body's cool, but you know, The head stuff's really scary. When's the first time I broke my ankle? One of the first times I ever got to film with Mike Manzuri. I was trying to Smith grind this 8-stair rail.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I thought I wasn't gonna make that.
I thought I had it, and when I hit the ground, my foot rolled over the front of my board, and I ended up snapping the 5th metatarsal in my leg.
Ow! Oh my God, my foot!
I remember him picking me up, putting me in his car, took me to my house, lifted me up, and took me up the stairs, and like knocked on the door and handed me to my dad. And my dad was like, hey, it's okay. We'll go get it fixed. And we went straight to the hospital and, you know, got it casted up. But that's been the craziest thing about my life is like my parents, man, have been so cool with the injuries that I've been through.
Ow!
X Games. This is when contests had like literally massive obstacles, and there was a 13 stair and it was in the final and I was trying to backside flip it. Right when I landed, my right foot slipped off the front of my board. I ended up separating my first metatarsal from the bone. It's called a Liz Franck injury, and it's an injury that takes out like NFL dudes. Like normally if you get this injury, it's 50-50 whether you're coming back to your sport. That was one of the longest recoveries I'd ever had to go through. They have to fix the ligament, but then they also have to screw your foot together through the bones so that you don't move it and it will actually heal. So that ended up being like a 1 and 2 month process. And then there was a few Dew Tour contests. There's actually 2 Dew Tour contests where I'm in my run, mid-run, and slipped out and put my right elbow back, and my elbow completely dislocates and pops out. We figured out how to pull the arm back into place. Luckily for me, I've always been able to like reconfigure a body part after an injury. So that's weird actually. Summer of 2020, I ended up tearing my ACL, completely tearing my ACL and a little bit of my meniscus. I'm trying to skate that one spot everyone's skating down in San Diego. It's like the launch ramp over the 2 rails into the bank. Just working on getting a trick for my part and stepped off wrong, and yeah, so here I am today. I'm 4.5 months out of surgery, and it's all just to come back to skate. You know, I've had a wild ride of injuries and many more comeback stories, so this one will be no different. That's why we skate. You know, for me, it's like even recalling all of these injuries, it's never deterred me from skateboarding. It's never made me not want to skate. It's like, it's always made me like understand that skating is gnarly. Whatever amount of time I do get on the board, I cherish it. You know, it's a blessing. And through all these injuries, I've always come back. Just take the time it takes to heal and you'll be back. That's it.